Welcome to your reading, Scorpio. It is December 24th, and this is for the remainder of the week or whenever you get this. So, there's a lot going on here. I'm going to start with the image that I have. The impression that I have is of you drawing a very solid black line. And it's not in the sand. It's more solid than that. It's a black line, and you're on this side, and they, or whatever the situation is on that side. But I feel like this is more than about just a situation. This, I feel, is you drawing a line around how you will engage and how you will not engage with people. That it really is starting to redefine what your role is, what you believe your role should be and what it needs to be, and how that's in the process of changing. Scorpio has a tendency to work very diligently and very hard. There's a lot of layers here. So understand, some of you are going to relate to this and some of you probably won't, or maybe there are certain aspects. The way the cards are playing out is this. It looks to me as though some of you are in the process of really starting to understand the fact that it's time for you to take care of yourselves. And part of the reason that there has been a real upheaval and a real shift in your perception is because over time, what you've come to understand is that the work that you have done very diligently and often really good-heartedly that took the burden off other people was not only not always appreciated, but sometimes you were almost demonized for it. It was as though you doing more and doing better than the other people around you who kind of abdicated responsibility took your doing of it as some kind of insult, some kind of statement that they weren't good enough, that they weren't enough. And even though that may not have been your thought when you were doing this, it's a statement about how they perceive themselves that they would have assumed you thought that about them. Do you understand what I mean? You weren't necessarily thinking that. You were just getting on with doing what needed to be done because that's your work ethic. That's how you function well, is to have things organized, sorted out, straightened out, and managed. And managed well. Because that feels good to you. It's not because, oh, well, it's got to be done now. This is a part of who you are. And so for you, it's a natural way of being. For others who were kind of, well, we'll say riding your coattails, and maybe they weren't exactly riding your coattails, but were certainly benefiting from your work ethic and your standards, you applying your standards. It was as though somehow they took it as a put down. It's almost as though because they felt so almost ashamed at not being as good or not being as competent, that instead of letting themselves feel that, they created this armor and they turned it against you as though, well, look at who does she think she is? Or who does he think he is, kind of a thing. That's not your problem. This line that you have drawn is you letting the babies be the babies. Let them be the babies. And when I say be the babies, that sounds kind of critical. I think what I'm really wanting to say about that is it's time for them to grow up emotionally, to mature emotionally in a way where they can look at their responsibility too. You've done a whole bunch of looking at yours. Now it's time for them to do theirs. They will or they won't. That's not your job. Your job now, it feels like you're doing it. Yes. Is you're drawing a line, and now what Spirit is really encouraging you to do is to stay out of worry as much as you possibly can around that. Whatever comes up around that, around you having drawn the line, and now choosing to take care of yourself first. that's up for them to deal with. Understand, you taking care of yourself first partially is letting them take care of themselves. So whatever comes up around that, you doing things well and properly is so much a part of who you are that sometimes in the process of that, you forget to play, you forget to be lighthearted, and especially when this secondary wave of energy comes in from them, which is almost an attack against you for you just being who you are, and often very benevolently, like genuinely benevolently in regards to them or in relation to them. It's difficult sometimes for you to step out of that and just let yourself play and just let yourself be lighthearted. And that actually is what you're being asked to start using as a way to not stay at that line and guard it, and not go into defense mode. I have to defend myself against this. You've drawn the line energetically. That's super powerful. Now you back it up with your behavior. Your behavior in terms of keeping your energy not going back into must fix, must take care of, must be responsible for. Okay? You're really being asked to lighten up. Take on a little bit more of that feminine energy that is receptive, that is soft, that is gentle, but in relation to yourself, in relation to how you do things. Let things be a little bit more open and soft and a little bit less like this, as much as you can. Obviously, if you're in the midst of doing things that demand absolute attention, time sensitive, like, if you're a surgeon, we don't want you doing a ballet in the middle of a surgery. However, I think you get my point. When possible, when you are not engaged in something actively in the moment that demands that, please, look at where you can be playful. Look at where you can be soft with yourself. The interesting thing too, as I'm seeing this, is I'm looking at this beautiful image that just came up on my screen as a screensaver that I didn't plan on. And it is a beach, but it's sand dunes. You don't even see the water exactly, but you've got beautiful horizon. And that is the other thing I feel for you, Scorpio. Sometimes when you're working and you're doing your project, it's literally like your head is down and you're keeping things so much in line that you forget to look up. And for you, space is important. Water is important. Absolutely. You're a Scorpio. And being by the water, intuitively, you know that regenerates you, and that gives you a sense of peace and a sense of coming into yourself again. But equally important is space. Horizons, being able to look into the distance. And the idea of space is very much about being in that frequency of expansiveness, of grace, of connection to higher energy and higher spirit. Think of space as being not just in relation to your physical environment, but also in relation to time. Slow things down a little bit. Take time out. Give yourself space within your day for those moments where you can just be kindly and gently with yourself without trying to figure and fix. Where you can take some time and reflect on the positive things about you, about your life, about the things that you are happy about, and that make you feel sparkly. Okay, that's it for me, Scorpio. What I say is I've already seen you draw the line, maybe not completely and maybe not in all areas. But what I do see is that you are learning to take space. You are in the process of doing that. And I want to remind you, my lovely Scorpios, does not happen overnight for most people. But slowly, as you start, the intention is there. It always starts with a question. Do I like this? Do I not like this? If I don't like this, how do I want to change it? How do I want to change it? And then you start getting the answers, okay? So it all starts with just asking yourself. And then your higher mind is going to give you what you need, because what we're talking about here is you moving more towards alignment with your heart and alignment with your higher self, which absolutely only ever wants the best for you. Okay? So align with that, ask the questions, allow for that wisdom to come in, and lean into the idea that there is a divine force that is guiding you and helping you. Lean into the idea of grace. It's the one card I'm going to read for you. Grace has a smooth, easy, peaceful, and supportive quality. It flows naturally into us and through us. It's an experience of letting the benevolent universe take us through our movements and guide us with a loving hand. Notice the feeling quality of this description and return to it today. Every time you're about to do or think anything, or at any point in the day when you find yourself feeling stressed and thinking too much, return to it. So that's, keep that in mind as you are adjusting your behaviors, because you're also really good-hearted, right? So it's sometimes difficult for you to draw those lines, even around those people who are not kind to you, because you can see their weaknesses, you can see their needs. No, it's not always meant to be up to you to take care of them. Sometimes what their lesson is to learn how to take care of themselves. Okay? You take care of you. Take care, Scorpio. I hope this helps. If you feel inclined, a like, subscription, share would be greatly appreciated. If not, I'll be back next week and you're still welcome. And have a wonderful holiday week, whatever you're celebrating, even if it's just time out. Take care.